Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video I'll be giving you the full review of the F-86F-40 JASDF, a Japanese rank 5 jet fighter that comes in a premium pack that costs $50 USD and includes the Sabre, 2,000 Golden Eagles, and 15 days of premium time. In this review I'll go over its stats, how it plays, its strengths and weaknesses, and then give some final ratings and a final recommendation on if you should purchase this plane or not. With that said, as always, let's get into the review. First, I'll place its stats here on the left side of the screen. Its important stats to know are its current 9.3 BR rating, turn time, and its armament, including 2 AIM-9Bs. And now, of course, how it plays. The F-86F-40 JASDF functions about the same as all other MG-equipped Sabres, except that this one has new slats at the front of the wings and that the wingspan is slightly longer, which means that this is actually extra maneuverable compared to all other MiGs. The issue with this, however, is that the wings are essentially as structurally stable as less maneuverable MiGs, making wing breakage somewhat more common with the F-40 than with other Sabre models, at least in extreme terms. Even still, you will be able to outturn even the most maneuverable higher BR fighters, making that the main way in which you'll be able to defeat those higher BR supersonic fighters, and which is really going to be about the only way that you can perform decently well in up tiers. Further, you have your AIM-9Bs, which will score occasional frags, otherwise known as kills or assists, but will require a favorable launch from directly behind an opponent that is not maneuvering much, so possibly a critically damaged opponent, or if you don't enjoy stealing kills, simply just go for enemies that don't seem like they know what they're doing, or NPCs. Either way, you'll still have a tremendous amount of ammo with 1,800 rounds total with 6 M3 HMGs, of which provide much better fire rates over the M2. Though cannons are in vogue at around this BR and beyond, several accurate and or lucky hits can oftentimes disable an enemy. Any unlucky hits though, and you can sit there hitting an enemy for what seems to be weeks on end, struggling to do any real damage with this Sabre. That is where the F-40 Sabre is worst, in snapshots, as you will be very unlikely to destroy an enemy with a quick burst, whereas a cannon would otherwise do the job. Ultimately though, you'll be best to trick enemies into lower / medium speed turn fights, especially higher BR enemies, as you can outturn them, and your acceleration difference at low speeds versus planes like MiG-19s, J-35s, and MiG-21s will be far less pronounced than they would be at say past 500 kilometers per hour. Further, if they try to escape, they provide you with the perfect opportunity to use your AIM-9Bs, as many planes will not have the countermeasures or low-speed maneuverability to escape your missiles. But barring these circumstances, you will also be more likely to earn frags via head-ons and or earn assists by lightly hitting an enemy once or twice and letting allies finish them off. In short, you will likely be outclimbed, outsped, outgunned, outteched, and will face vehicles with stronger construction, but you will rarely, if ever, be outturned while using this Sabre. Use this as your main strength and draw enemies into a low / mid-speed turn fight, and you will be surprisingly good in most matches, especially if you're facing high-tier premium players that have no idea how to play high-tier jets. Use your strength and their lack of knowledge to win. Otherwise, for close air support, this is pretty much identical to all other Sabres, in that it can carry 2 1,000-pound bombs or 16 HFAR rockets. Unfortunately, you cannot carry both bombs and rockets simultaneously. That said, while it isn't bad at close air support, it simply is not great. It'll get the job done in a pinch and will allow you to get a few frags per match. With that said, however, let's get into the strengths and weaknesses, and first and foremost, this Sabre has an amazing roll rate. Second, it has great maneuverability that is greatly assisted by the lengthened wings and the forward wing slats. Third, it has tons of ammo, again 1,800 rounds with its HMGs. Hey, they might be HMGs, but at least they're not LMGs. Fourth, it has missiles. These are not going to be amazing, you can still get kills, and most of the time they will also be easy bot kills, so you can get decent amounts of points like that too. Fifth, it has good acceleration, at least considering what it is. Also, it is extremely fuel efficient. On smaller maps, the minimum fuel load is totally viable. Seventh, the F-86F-40 is a very small target. Eighth, it has radar, although this is extremely basic, so it doesn't really count for much. And finally, this saber has premium RP and SL bonuses. Now for its weaknesses, it has poor top speed for its BR, considering that many planes that it will face can exceed Mach 1 or even Mach 2 in some cases. Secondly, this does not have an afterburner, which is a major weakness, especially again around this BR. Third, though it has tons of ammo, it still uses only 50 cals, which are incredibly underpowered at this BR, especially considering the construction that most planes have. Fourth, it only has AIM-9Bs. Other planes around this BR, such as the Sea Vixen or even the Yak-38, have substantially better missiles, which is ridiculous, especially being that the Sea Vixen is a lower BR than this. Fifth, it has no countermeasures. It's not so much of a concern at this BR, but of course there are many planes with missiles, even if most of them are kind of weak. Sixth, it has mediocre close air support capability, again being only able to carry HVAR rockets or 2 1,000-pound bombs. And finally, its wings break incredibly easily. That is always something that you're going to have to watch out for, which really limits your ability to use its maneuverability in full effect. With all that out of the way, while the F-86F-40 may have been extremely competitive a few years ago, especially as missiles were first released in War Thunder, that is no longer the case, at least not at its current BR. When you have a plane like the MiG-21 PFM sitting at the same BR as this iteration of the F-86, all while using comparable missiles, though with a substantially better top speed and weapons loadout, it's time to rethink the BR of this saber. Now, is this a bad plane? No, but I don't think that it is incredibly competitive at this BR, especially when it is regularly paired with and against Mach 2 planes, some with entirely better missiles and other systems as well. While I like this plane and have done fairly well with it, all things considered, I do not think that this will be the same for most players. I personally like MGs and cannons, as well as turning capability, while other players are more likely to like speed and missiles, at least per my observations. If the latter type of player is you, then you will not likely enjoy or even do well with this plane. So for my ratings, I give the F-40 Saber a 7 out of 10 for dogfighting, simply because this is just about the ultimate evolution of one of the last pure dogfighters ever made. It outturns nearly every player that it will come across, even in up tiers. It can still do well if you're either lucky, knowledgeable, or both. If turn fighting is not your thing, or if you feel that you would do poorly in what is essentially an 8.3 or 8.7 VR jet sitting at 9.3 VR, then you may feel otherwise. But I feel that this is a great plane against air opponents. For close air support, I give it a 4 out of 10 because while it can get the job done, it ultimately has very few options, not much of a capacity, and has no tech to help with aiming, such as a ballistics computer. For grinding, I give the F-86F-40 JASDF a 5.5 out of 10, simply because it is a premium. If you're not a very experienced player, or if you're not good at luring less maneuverable but faster enemy fighters into a dogfight, then this will not be a good fit for you. Thus, you will not be able to likely grind well with it or even get kills with it. It is for these reasons that I give this a 5.5 out of 10 overall. It is good for some, and it is indeed a premium vehicle, but it requires a very specific type of player and specific types of situations to really maximize its effectiveness. Otherwise, in my opinion, this is a mid 8.0 BR fighter, so 8.3, 8.7 BR fighter that sits beyond 9.0 BR, all with lesser capabilities than the lower BR Sea Vixen or again the Yak-38. Gaijin seriously needs to reevaluate the BR placement of the F-86F-40 JASDF. With all that said though, should you buy the plane? Well, while I will never outright declare a vehicle as being bad, because they all have their strengths and weaknesses, it just feels that the F-86F-40 is overmatched at its BR. It's a good plane, but as mentioned before, the Sea Vixen is much more capable and sits at a lower BR. You'll be fighting in matches with F-4Cs, Thunder Chiefs, and Harriers, at least while this maintains its 9.3 BR rating and those maintain their respective ratings as well. If it were to decrease to 9.0 BR, it would be a good amount more effective in matches and would rate as a 6 or 6.5 out of 10 overall for me. Again, this is a great plane in my opinion for what it is, but it was built in a time where it was meant to go against MiG-15s and possibly MiG-17s, not against much more advanced planes such as the AJ-37 or Phantom IIs. So no, I cannot give my general recommendation for this plane, though I will say that it is still likely worth it if you're a huge fan of turn fighting, especially if you're an experienced player. This plane will give you a challenge, but in my opinion, opinion, it is a very, very satisfying plane to get kills with. But that being said, thanks so much for watching, everyone. Please like, comment, subscribe. You guys know the dealio. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I want to hear your opinions on this plane. Should it maintain its BR? Should it have a lower BR? Are there some crazy people out there that think that it should have a higher BR? Let me know. Either way, again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.